The Boys, season 3, wrapping up. Uh, Man, Dave, just the symmetry of our pictures, if you're watching on YouTube again, just always makes me laugh. The picture you have a Homelander versus the picture I have a Homelander. It just tells two very different sides of Anthony Starr's character this season. And, I think the season of The Boys, I think it touched on some very present and obviously political, but I think also had some great observations on just the current state of like media and pop culture. And I don't know if the finale totally landed the boat the way I expected them to. And maybe it's more so the hope I was having that there would be more reconciliation than we got at the end of the season. But I think this is still a really great season of television, and this is a very singular show. There's really nothing that does what The Boys does right now. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed the season. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't as let down by this season 3 finale because I kind of expect the lack of resolution with the boys. The boys cannot exist without Homelander. Soldier Boy and the boys are not going to kill Homelander in the finale. It's just not going to happen. So something else has to happen. In this case, it's like their loyalties or the motivations. Everyone's gets all muddled real quick, and next thing we know, we're not trying to take down Homelander. But I think it made just enough sense to track and be okay. So, I'm satisfied with that. I think where it leaves you with Homelander at his most out in the open with who he really is, and now with his son Ryan directly in the fold and assumingly becoming more of a character moving forward. I think that leaves us with a new place. It does feel like we've progressed with the world in a certain sense. Of course, the boys as the crew continue to feel like we just keep not making progress. But if you look into what each entity is supposed to represent in terms of satirization of real world events and politics and culture, things like that, everything does kind of still track and make sense as observations. So at the end of the day, it's still really entertaining as well. I think the Anthony Starr performance as Homelander obviously keeps the show together, but one of, if not the best, like acting performance across like superhero TV. Like it's truly amazing. Like the range of this performance and how he really commands this character, which is so essential to this series.
Yeah, perfect casting, and this has to be an actor's dream, right? Like to
Mm,
get to play a
yeah.
character like this who just is like so bizarre and out there in every single possible direction. I mean, the season starts off with him basically forcing a woman to kill herself because he finds out that the love of his life, who's a like an 80-year-old Nazi superhero, supervillain, kills herself by eating her own tongue or biting her own tongue off and choking on it, and ends with him literally killing someone on Wall Street, the in front of a mass of people, similar to the way certain ex-presidents said that he would be able to do. And it's like just everything in between, him looking back at his childhood and not having a parent to be there for him and how that has impacted him. But then you actually see the way that that plays out and the way he responds to Ryan, which I thought was one of the strongest scenes in the final episodes, was the way that he finds Ryan at the safe house and then gives him the affection that Butcher was not able to give him, and kind of
Mm,
setting up how the nurturing of this next generation, or how you choose to treat them, heavily influences the way that they build their ideas and the ways that they see the world and who they want to follow, whether that's right or wrong. I thought that was really effective. um, I think there's a lot of really ridiculous parts of this season. I mean, I think we have to talk about Soldier Boy next, as this
mm.
kind of like shot of I don't know if shot of adrenaline is the right word, because this show is always at 110, but just like this addition to the season that I did not see coming, but I think was really effective. What was your overall temperature on Soldier Boy?
I liked it. I liked him a lot. Jensen Ackles. I think the performance was really effective, and I think in one hand, like the lore, the world of the boys, getting to color in and learn more about the past
Mhm.
via Soldier Boy and everyone who interact with him, such as Black Noir. But I think it was kind of cool from a commentary standpoint to see like the way Homelander would talk and Vought would talk about the threat of Soldier Boy was kind of like COVID basically, because obviously
Mm,
Homelander has become the avatar for Trump in
yeah.
this scenario, and how Homelander would be like, just go outside, do your thing, nothing to fear, nothing to worry about, keep doing what you want to do, and go to the movies and restaurants. And it's like it.
Yeah.
Eric Kripke has made very clear. He's like, I know the boys is not subtle,
Mhm.
but I'm just expressing this point of view. And
Right.
I enjoy seeing it, you know? And I think with Soldier Boy, there was a lot of narrative propulsion with this character, I think in an effective way. Because again, if this show is going to progress, and we know at the end, Homelander's not going to die. So we need something to invest in. I feel like you invest in like Soldier Boy as like this weapon that can take
Right.
out Homelander, but also he is a horrific entity in his own right, a product of a different age, and not an ally you want to have. And how the boys really wrestled with all that towards the end of the season, I thought was well done. I think in a sense we picked up the show nicely from Stormfront being the key figure of season two and killing herself in the beginning of this season, and then we're replacing the Stormfront energy with Soldier Boy here. So I enjoyed I think I enjoyed him, and I thought he was effective in how he fit into the kind of ebbs and flows of this season.
Yeah, I agree. I think Soldier Boy and Jensen Ackles playing him were really great additions. Obviously, having something that feels like it can level with Homelander in some way, as well as them taking the is it the H? Is it what they called it? The V? The agent, whatever that chemical was that made them superheroes. I'm
Uh,
forgetting
t-
now.
they were taking the temp V
Temp V.
versus
Temp V. That's what it
the
was.
compound V, which is like the more permanent stuff that Vought has under lock and key.
Which I thought was uh you needed something to like level the playing field for this season, so I thought
Right.
that made a lot of sense and was
Homelander and Butcher can only interact so many times before it is so beyond the realm of possibility that Butcher wouldn't have just cut off his head with his laser eyes. So
yeah.
this was a nice way to do that, and also ends with a nice place where Butcher perhaps is on borrowed time. So we're
Yeah.
told. So we're gonna ratchet that up. We'll see. But yeah, I thought that was like a really smart thing. Also made Huey a much more
Interesting
present
character.
character in the story as well.
Totally. Yeah, and I thought it made him a a bit more like you understood a bit more his like desires and like what his character really wants to achieve, which is like to just be like respected, and really does not know how to make sense of of where he stands among these supers, when he is a very 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 normal person. Also, just a funny thing when he confronts um the running guy,
A
the
Train.
Flash, A Train, yes, at the hero gasm at the I had totally forgotten that's where the series started with him killing his girlfriend. I had
Yeah.
completely forgotten about that. That's how far we've gotten and all this. So like when he confronts him, I was like, what's he doing this for? And then I was like, holy fuck, like we've gone
Yeah.
so far down the rabbit hole of this show. It's pretty crazy.
Right.
Um
Well, if you think about it too, The Boys has really progressed. In the beginning, as you just said, it was kind of about the lack of dignity and respect that soups were treating the rest of the world with. We have to take down the soups. The soups are bad overall.
mhm,
Now we're to the point where, well, we're gonna probably compromise ourselves by becoming soups, perhaps just temporarily, to achieve our greater good. But the show itself has also kind of progressed beyond satirizing the superhero culture we find ourselves in with Marvel and DC and everything else. And we still have that here. And we've moved on to just kind of satirizing and ribbing everything, culture, politics, left and right spectrum. It's all fair game now at this point. In addition to superhero culture, and it's kind of been fun to, I think, be with the boys and see that progression. Now I don't think everything has been effective. Victoria Newman, the who's now assumingly the vice president nominee,
Mm,
campaigning nominee at the end of the season. She was introduced as like the progressive figure in politics, kind of an AOC stand-in. Notably, Claudia Doman looks a lot like AOC as well, but
yeah.
like her character has progressed in a completely different direction. It just doesn't feel like that kind of analog. And I thought that was kind of weird. It's like she's just not like an effective like representation of what she was introduced as. Whereas it's been hilarious to see like some right wing fans of the series, The Boys, all of a sudden be like, wait a minute, The Boys is political and Homelander is Trump and they're lampooning this. I don't like this. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like that was obvious. That was always the case. You're just a moron if you didn't know that before. But like
Which
they
I think
clearly
says a lot.
changed what Victoria Newman was about, the way she
Yeah.
was introduced anyway.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't know if her like burn really feels that effective. And obviously, you have Giancarlo Esposito talking about him for the second segment in a row, who gets sidelined pretty quick in this season. I mean, she turns on him. He gets sent to jail for, I forgot what it was that they said that he potentially did, but instead of
Just like
going after
corruption
Homelander, yeah,
for Vought over the years,
yeah, general
laundry
stuff.
list, we assume.
Um, and so it's like I just didn't know if that like storyline was like the most interesting part of the season to me. The A Train stuff is interesting, right? Because I
Right.
think it's like,
Blue Hawk.
yeah, there's this like aspect of the show which I think is trying to like touch on white supremacy and um the responsibilities of the black community, or why certain responsibilities are put in the black community. And I think um Laz Alonso
Right.
has to
MM.
carry a lot of that weight. And A Train kind of does like the fake
Yeah. Performative.
activism, yeah, performative activism throughout this season, and ultimately can't really change his stripes and just wants to hold on to this life of fame, and almost like uses that activism as a way to like get that fame back or that notoriety back in some
Right.
sense. And I just think like some of that stuff just didn't feel fully baked, or like it just didn't like
Yeah.
totally
It's kind of
land.
dropped ultimately.
Yeah, and like it kind of sucked because like it really like put Laz Alonso apart from Butcher for a lot of the season. He kind of teams up with Starlight, but like I felt like what made me interested in Laz and Frenchie and all them was when they were together with Butcher. You don't really get that team up until the end.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of the season, I'm kind of like, okay, Frenchie's got this thing going on, Laz has this thing going on, Starlight's over here, and none of them are interacting together. And I kind of lost like interest in a lot of what was going on. I just wanted to be with Butcher and Huey as they were going
Yeah.
after Homelander for a lot of it. So I didn't know if that totally worked.
Yeah.
And I
I
gotta,
thought
oh, go ahead.
at least with Mother's Milk with MM, at least like the direct connection to Soldier Boy, I think brought his character more into the fold. I think in an interesting way. But the A Train stuff, I think it's a bit up and down. Like I like seeing Blue Hawk as this like clear analog for just like Blue Lives Matter,
Idiots.
racial policing, and
Yep.
and all those things, and like that part's good. But also like we kind of just get introduced. We don't really see anything new with A Train's relationship to his community. Like his brother is judging his shit out of him and espousing to him directly who he is for the audience. But that was not anything we didn't already know. And like you said, by the end of the season, A Train, who's just kind of become a lackey of Homelander because he doesn't really know what else to do with his life, it's a bit inert, you know. Next to him, you have the Deep again. We're ending with him
Oh,
as just another lackey of Homelander. I think the Deep, even if he's like pretty much inconsequential apart from some like key narrative beats, like I think just the performance of like the Deep being viewed as a joke, both by us as viewers, but also in universe,
hmm,
uh, makes him an amusing presence to be around. Um,
yeah, for sure.
and then Maeve was the one who had like the most like finality to her season, despite not being in this season all that much. I thought that was kind of a nice choice, though, to basically write her out of the series the way
Hmm.
they did, even though they didn't technically kill her. I thought they were going to kill her off, but either way, she's basically off the grid without any
Stranger
powers anymore.
Things.
Yeah. So, I mean, Soldier Boy as well. He's actually just back on ice and under CIA control now. He's not actually dead.
Yeah. Only one character had more finality than them, and that's Black Noir, who
Yeah,
actually I actually really thought the way that they handled Butcher's like backstory and Black Noir's backstory was actually really well done. The way that they kind of like it brought you into the loop on their trauma and how that's informed their behaviors and who they are. And like at first I thought the cartoons were kind of like this like kitschy, kind of a lame way to do it, but like I think it actually ended up making a lot of sense and was like an interesting flourish to the show.
yeah. Well, just making Noir it's finally telling something about Noir beyond the
Right.
fact that he used to work with Soldier Boy. And what that was that he's actually just been like this tortured soul for some time, and just kind of like super fucked up by this. And I actually felt like really bad at the end when Homelander killed him, even
Mhm.
though he hasn't exactly been much of a character, and he's usually been a bad guy or mainly a bad guy due to just doing what a Homelander wants him to do. But like when he died at the end, I was like, oh man, this guy's just been kind of fucked up for so long, and just you just and this
He
like
did a lot
see
of fucked up shit
friends.
still.
Yeah, I know. But
Yeah. But they
the fact
definitely
that
do
they
a good
actually
job.
imbued some pathos into Black Noir, I think is
Mhm.
pretty impressive. Because obviously they
Yeah.
juggle a lot with the Homelander character, but to actually give you like something to chew on with the Black Noir character while killing him off, I thought was pretty impressive.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think overall the boys kind of it just added, I think, a lot to what it already is as a show. But I don't know if this necessarily like elevated it. It's just so in its own realm, and you know, ultra gory, ultra sexual, lewd. But it- I think it, I think it goes to places that not all. I think it goes to places that not any show on TV really is willing to go fully. So I do appreciate that. Do you have any final thoughts on this season?
No, I'm more to what you just said. I think The Boys is like super effective at what it's going for, and like was really humming this season. It's just a real blast to be with, and the fact that the show can be on the nose and obvious with its commentary at times, I think is totally fine, honestly, because I think everything about the show really works like that. Obviously, there's stuff that doesn't work. I thought Kimiko largely wasted this season, really
Yeah.
didn't have anything to do. Not everything's perfect, but like what the boys is going for, it's really effective at. And I'm honestly really looking forward to the spin-off series, which we know we're going to get next year. We're going to get this spin-off before The Boys season 4. The Boys presents Varsity, the college Vought training soups spin-off series.
Mhm.
Vought Soups College, where they fucking kill each other, sounds amazing. Can't wait.
I have no doubt it'll be good.